Good Tvach, Shua Tov. We are learning Mishna Bava Kamma, Parak Beis, Chapter 2, Mishna Gimel, Mishna 3. Okay. Hakelev Vagadi, a dog or a young goat. Shakavtzu Marei Shagag, they jumped from the top of a roof. They were on the top of a building and they jumped off. V'shibru es hakelim, and they landed on vessels and broke them. So there, let's say you have your dog and your goat are on top of your roof, which is not necessarily seems to be not an uncommon thing, and they jumped off onto the property of your neighbor, and when they landed on his vessels and broke them. Mishalim nezek shalim, the owner of these animals has to pay the full damages, because for this they are mu'adin. I mean, in regard to jumping off a roof like that, that is common for these animals to do. We're not talking about 20-foot high or 30-foot high roofs here. We're talking about smaller houses. We're talking about these animals who jumping from the roof is not uncommon. It doesn't hurt them. And therefore, since it's a common thing for them to do, they are called mu'ad. That means it's normal behavior for them. You have to watch them from doing it. And therefore, if they did it, you have to pay. The mu'ad means you have to now pay the full amount. Now, this damage that they did falls under the category of regel. Regel means if an animal breaks something during its regular behavior. And since this is called regular behavior, and as part of the regular behavior, they broke it. Therefore, they broke these vessels. And therefore, it falls under the category of regel. But if it's under the category of regel, that means that the damage has to happen in the domain of the person who got damaged. If they would have jumped off the roof, and from the roof they would have gone into the public domain, and there landed on somebody else's stuff and broke it, they wouldn't be liable. Regel is only chayev. Regel is only liable. The owner is only obligated where the damage is done in the domain of the person who got damaged. So therefore, here we're talking about when it jumped and it landed on those vessels and broke them, that this all happened on the property of the person who owned those vessels. Next, hakeleb shanatal charora. A dog entered someone else's property and he took a roll. Now, this roll, R-O-L-L, roll as in bread. Okay. That was baking there, was baking on hot coals. It was one of these breads that you make on hot coals. Okay. And the hot coals were sticking to it. So the caleb goes and it takes the roll in its mouth.
And he runs.
And v'halach legadish. And it then went over to a pile of grain and set it afire. What happened was the dog came in, took in its mouth, took the roll. There were some coals stuck to it. It walked near a pile of grain. It was there where it ate the roll, and then by eating the roll, the coals, basically fall off. And they fall off and land on the pile. And they come off as he's eating it, and they land on the pile and they set it aflame. Okay, so there's your animal going into somebody else's property, taking the hot roll they're taking the roll off the coals as being baked. The coals are stuck to it. It then goes over to a where it went over, but the point is that it says hold on. And it says it went to a pile of grain. Okay, went over to a pile of grain. It ate the roll there. By eating the roll, it shook off the coals onto the pile of grain and set it afire. Says the Mishna, Shalom Nezek Shalem. For the roll, you pay full damage. Why? That's called shane. That's eating, right? The first part, eating the roll, is shane. That's the damage of eating, which an animal is mu'ad for. It's considered its normal behavior, and therefore for that you're going to pay the full amount. But for the pile of grain, meshalem chatzi nezek, then you pay half damages. That's because this again falls under the case of tzreiris. The same thing we say an animal that's walking, and as it walks, it kicks the rocks, and the rocks fly and breaks something. So even though that came about it's a normal thing to happen, nonetheless, there's special halacha, special law, halacha Mishna Sinai, that says that you only pay half damages for that.
Yeah.
And therefore, here too, the Gadish was burned by the coals. The coals fell off or were shaken off while it was eating. That's similar to the case of kicking up the stones. And therefore, the damage caused by the coals, you're going to pay Chatzi Nezek, you're going to pay half damages. But as we said previously, even though you're only paying half, nonetheless, this is still considered a tolda. It's a subcategory. It's a case of regel. It's considered a case of regel. It's an exception to the rule of regel that typically regel pays full damages and tzreiris when something goes flying out or something is it's not directly happening from it, but it's forced doing it. That the halacha is there that you're going to pay half the damages, but it still falls under the category of regel, and therefore you'll only be liable if the damage took place on the property of the person who got damaged. Have a wonderful day. A good tabach.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Was the rule